Well, hello everyone. This is Jamie Silver with Herf Jones Yearbooks and Varsity Brands. I hope this finds you well. I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday with your family as I did, and I know we all look forward to the holidays just around the corner. This time here, I know we're full speed ahead with Yearbook, and I wanted to address a few topics that I've received questions on the last couple weeks that I thought might be helpful to everyone. So on today's episode, we're going to cover 3 demonstrations, and if you look below, I've included quick links where you can jump to the topic that most fits your needs. Now, the first one we're going to cover today picks up from the last episode where I shared more information about how to upload that portrait CD or that download that you get from your school photo company. And today we're going to pick up where that leaves off and talk about proofing that information, make sure we got the names correct with the right portraits and all that. So I'm going to jump to that quick demonstration here, and then I'll be right back.
After your portrait disc has been uploaded, you'll need to review the portrait names and other information for accuracy. To do so, navigate to your library, then enter the Portrait section. Review your portrait information by clicking on the Data view. You can scroll up and down to check names, grades, and teacher information. The search function can be used to find a particular person. Type the person's last name, first name, or grade, and press Enter or Return on the keyboard. Click the Clear button to show all portraits. You may also use Advanced Search to sort by individual grades or teachers. In the Advanced Search dialog box, check the box beside the grouping you'd like to find, then click Search. Only the portraits with that designation will show in your library window. Click the Clear button to show all portraits. You can also use this to locate portraits with different designations. For example, I want to find the students in Ms. Lander's homeroom. When I look in the teacher area, I see that I have 2 different designations in my data. One is Ms. Landers and the other is just Landers. These both refer to the same Ms. Landers, so I'll check both boxes and click Search. Both designations are now shown in the library window. Any of these search results can be printed out by going to the File menu and choosing Print. This creates a directory proof, which is a printed check sheet that allows you to verify the name spelling, grade, and teacher information for each portrait. You could, for instance, print a check sheet for each homeroom teacher so that the teachers can review the lists and let you know if any changes are needed. Or you could compare the portrait check sheets to a data list from the school office. You can make changes by going to the Data view in the Portrait library. Click into a cell and type the correct information. Be sure to use a consistent format for grades and teacher names to make it easier when you're ready to flow portraits on your pages. You may have students with no portrait available. If a student's name is on the index file from the portrait CD, but the student does not have a portrait on the disk, then you can add them with a Photo Not Available placeholder when you upload your portraits. You can also enter a missing student manually. Go to the Edit menu and choose Insert Record. Then enter the name, grade, and teacher information in the Data view. If you later obtain a portrait for the student, select the placeholder graphic, then go to Edit and choose Replace Image to place an actual portrait into the library. If the image you upload is not a properly cropped portrait, you may need to adjust the image once you flow the portraits. When you've made all the desired edits, you're ready to flow portraits on your yearbook pages.
Well, I hope that was a helpful kind of refresher on the proofing stage of portraits. There are a lot of helpful tools I can share with you for the next few steps as well, but this is an important one as Mark showed it to make sure we get all the names correct. As you saw, I just want to highlight we can search and sort by grade or by classroom. So if you place yours on the pages by classroom, for example, you can pick the teacher's name and organize it in that fashion. So any questions on that, please let me know. Happy to help with that or the next steps on getting your portraits flown into the book. Now, the next video I want to share with you, the demonstration, is an overview of a feature called Send and Sell. Now, this is for those of you listening who need to sell your yearbooks, meaning they're not included in school fees or everyone gets one for whatever reason. This is a really powerful tool that we've built into the program that lets you reach out to those parents who have not bought a book yet and send them a message directly. So I'm going to share that with you here, and I'll be right back.
Send and Sell combines the power of e-business and e-design, allowing you to send promotional email messages to your school community in just a few clicks. The process starts by importing a master list of names from eBusiness that includes email addresses. Next, you create a send and sell campaign designed to promote book sales and/or ad sales. Then you create the message you'd like to send using one of the pre-written templates or by creating your own customized message. Next, you select your list of recipients. You can target non-buyers and filter the list by grade and even by the number of times a student appears in the yearbook. Before sending the message, you preview it to make sure you have it just right. The preset templates include a link back to your school's Yearbook Order Center site so that it's easy for your buyers to respond and make the purchase. Send and Sell in eDesign boosts the power of your yearbook promotional efforts, helping you get a copy of the yearbook into the hands of as many students as possible.
Now, for those of you who have managed yearbook sales, you know that's a huge task, or it can be. And this is just an amazing tool that brings together the power of e-business, as Mark showed there, assuming you're tracking it all there with either our store or you're doing it yourself in e-business. What a great way to just pull a list of non-buyers and reach out to them directly with a personalized message really easily, as you saw with the template. So any questions on that? Again, it's called Send and Sell. Please let me know, and we're happy to help you. Now, the last demonstration I want to share with you today is all about aligning and distributing objects on the page as you build them. So by that I mean, and it's like anything else in many programs, there's always 3 ways of doing things. So for example, if you were working on a spread and you have some picture boxes, whether it's a collage page perhaps, or a club page where you have a lot of photos or graphics that you're trying to align, one way you can do it is turn on the grid in the background, and you can have those objects jump like a magnet to the next grid, and that's a nice way to do it. This other tool that he's going to show you in this video is a really great way of automating it and making it perfect right away. So again, this is all about aligning and distributing objects within your pages.
We'll use this collection of shapes to illustrate the align and distribute functions, but these same functions can be used with any objects in eDesign: text frames, shapes, images, etc. To use the align and distribute functions, you have to select more than one object. So with my selection tool active, I'm going to hold down the Shift key and come and click on multiple shapes. In this case, I'm going to click on all 5 of these shapes to select them all. I want to zoom in on those so we can see them a little easier on screen. So I'm going to go over here and choose to zoom in at 100% on these objects. With more than one object selected, you'll see in the control panel at the bottom these set of options, which are your align options, and these set of options, which are your distribute options. Let's look at the align options first. If I click here, it will align the left edges of the selected objects. So if I click, they'll be perfectly aligned down along their left edges. I'm going to undo that. If I click here, it's going to align their right edges. I'm going to undo that. If I click here, it's going to align their horizontal centers. If I click there, now the centers of all the objects horizontally are perfectly aligned. I'm going to move down here and look at this other group of objects. This time, instead of holding down the Shift key and selecting, I'm going to click and drag. And as I click and drag, anything that I touch with this selection box, when I release the mouse button, will be selected. So now all 5 of these shapes are selected. If I come down here and choose to align the bottom edges, they'll be perfectly aligned. Undo that. Align their top edges. They'll be perfectly aligned. And align their vertical centers. Of course, they're already aligned along their vertical centers, but let's do the top edges and then the vertical centers. You get the idea. Now let's move over here to this side of the page and this other set of objects. These will be used to illustrate the distribute options. The distribute options are a little harder to understand in some ways, and the 2 that are most helpful are distribute vertical centers and distribute horizontal centers. The others have some specialized uses in certain cases, but in most cases they're not all that helpful and we won't really pay much attention to them. Let's just focus on distribute vertical centers and distribute horizontal centers. And these functions are going to be most useful when you have shapes or objects that have an equal height or width. In this case, I have 5 equally sized squares, and I would like these objects to be distributed across the top of my page evenly so that they have the same amount of space in between each one. I could try to do the math in my head and move them around and try to make them perfectly aligned, but using the distribute function is going to make this a lot easier for me. The first thing I'm going to do is place one shape in the furthest direction to the right I would like it to be, and then I'm going to place the other shape in the furthest direction to the left that I would like it to be. Then I'm going to select all the objects. It's going to make it a lot easier if we align their top edges, so I'm going to click on Align Top Edges, and then I'll come over and use this option right here, Distribute Horizontal Centers. And when I do that, all of the objects are perfectly distributed along their horizontal centers so that there's an equal amount of space in between each one of these shapes. I want to illustrate that more on a vertical axis now. So I'll place one object in the topmost place that I want them to be distributed, and I'm going to take one and put it in the bottommost place that I want them to be distributed, and then I'm just going to place the other ones somewhere in between. Now when I select them all, I'm going to align their left edges, and then I'm going to choose this option, Distribute Vertical Centers. And now they're perfectly distributed along their vertical centers so that I have an equal amount of space in between each object vertically.